Maybe it's not even from Moby Dick. I just assumed it was because everything else
Right.
from that.
I mean, they're
thing
definitely.
is.
I mean, he's definitely like channeling Moby Dick.
It's a paraphrase from Moby Dick.
Right.
I don't think Moby Dick was actually talking about all the space places.
Yeah.
The moons of Nibia.
That would own though if that whale was in space.
Space whale. That's like there's a lot of space whales now, but
Link's Awakening is kind of a it's just a dream whale.
Treasure Planet straight up had space whales.
All right, okay. All right, Mike, point this camera at your face because we're on YouTube.
Oh yeah, sure. You tell me to do things and I do them.
Yep. All right, and then I think we're good on audio, and we are. Yes. Okay, and then we just got to start the recording. I think we are good. Okay. Oh, you did. Okay, you did get the Epic Games. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, let's do this. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. 5, 4, 3. It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this. Welcome to the GamesBeat Decides podcast. This is the podcast where we decide everything about the world of games so you don't have to think for yourself. I'm your host, Jeffrey Grubb. With me is...
Mike Minotti.
Woo! In today's news, we got news. We got games. We've got so much. Wake up, Mike. It's Friday. Are you not ready for the weekend?
I got one more story to write, then I'll be ready, maybe. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to edit this podcast, finish editing my other one, get them both posted, and then go eat pizza. Go eat pizza. That's what I do.
I haven't had a pizza day in a while, but I'm also overweight.
No, hey, same. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're married with kids.
That's true. I got a dad bod, and it's totally legal. Yeah.
I'm a dad bod with no dadage going on. Yeah. So I'm just disgusting.
it's a narrow line, but yeah, you gotta try to walk it. First though, I want to thank everybody for joining us. You can get more from me and Mike at GamesBeat.com. If you have something to share with us, email the podcast games+podcast@venturebeat.com. That's the plus sign. Thank you to Carlos Ayin, who is Insane in the Rain Music on YouTube, for the use of our theme song. And let's see, if you're listening to this on the website player widget or YouTube, you can subscribe to the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. And if you like the show, rate us or tell a friend. That both of those really help. All right, yeah. So kind of another busy week for just mostly with events and stuff.
Pretty busy.
Yeah. I guess we could just hop into the news, but I guess did anything stick out to you that was like really exciting over the past week?
I mean, the EA stuff.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll get to some random Pokemon stuff. It's all here. The one thing that I think we can kind of talk about is what I'm really excited about, but we'll get there.
All right. Cyberpunk 2077 delayed is what I'm going to start with. Just kind of want to get this out of the way. It was delayed from September 19th to November 19th, in that range. November 19th is the new release date. How you feeling about this one?
I mean, it's like, all right. It's one of those things where at some point this game's just going to have to come out, because it's one of those things where it used to be like, oh, maybe now they're not crunching as much, and now they're just going to be crunching for 2 more months. Is all this problem?
Yeah, now we know that. Yeah, it's just
and it's like
they fill up all the available space with crunch. So yeah,
right. It's also just weird because like presumably one of the next gen games is coming out around then, like maybe on that date. So
maybe they felt more comfortable moving it because they think that there won't be that many next gen games. I guess. I mean, there's definitely going to be like Halo, right?
I mean, there'll be Halo, and I think Spider-Man will probably be.
Yeah.
But we know for sure that is more of a like Lost Legacy size thing, but it'll still be a decent big deal. But I mean, I almost like kind of wish that they would just position it as a next gen game in a bizarre way. Now. Like it might help.
But they don't seem ready to do that though, right? It seems like it's still just going to be mostly a current gen game, and then it's going to run in compatibility mode on those new systems. So
right. I mean, I kind of wish that like maybe my hope is like, oh, maybe they're just delaying a couple months because why not? Next gen will come out, then they can kind of take it a little bit easier with the last little bit of work they have. But I doubt it.
Yeah.
I think they are just scrambling, and they begged for these last 2 months, and like the game will probably still come out and like with some issues and stuff because it's just a very complicated big game, and they're going to fight to make everybody work on it for ridiculous hours as long as they possibly can until somebody says you have to release it now.
Yep, I think you're right. I at this point I'm like, I was looking forward to playing this game through early fall or whenever it was coming out, September, I'm like, oh yeah, that game's coming out, and that's like actually the game I'm most looking forward to. And now it's like, I think there's still a chance this game comes out in 2021 now. I think there's still a chance that happens. So
I'm weird. I have like a hype deficit for this game. It's not like I'm not looking forward to it. Like I'm sure I'll like it, but I don't have any like, I guess, visible excitement for it. I'll say.
Yeah, I'm. They also during this thing they said, oh, we're like sending this out to the press, and there will be previews on June 25th after our event. And well, we didn't get a code to play it. I really haven't heard anyone else saying that they have. I bet this is mostly going out to YouTubers.
Yeah, that
makes
seems
sense.
likely, huh?
Yeah. At the very, I mean, why wouldn't you just pay some people to say some nice things about it? It makes sense.
Whoa, hey, how dare you besmirch our YouTube brother?
They advertise that they do that. It's like on all their bios and stuff. Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of like, there's like a subset of them that just basically review like old platforming games from like the PlayStation 2 era. And I'm like, man, why can't that, that should be my job.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everything always looks better on the other side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they're actually not bad, and as far as I know, they aren't milkshake.
There's a lot of great YouTubers for sure. I was on a YouTube podcast last week, the Spawn Cast with the Spawn Wave, which I don't know if you've ever seen. That was like, and there was like nine people, and 8 of them were YouTubers, and then me, and I'm just like, I'm surrounded on all sides. But no, they're all great. Like mostly like I don't know. I've been enjoying a lot of YouTube content recently.
Yeah, the two I was watching, Ant Dude and. Gosh, the guy who likes Rayman a lot. His name is now escaping me, but I'll think of it later. But yeah, it's fun stuff. I always like finding like 15-minute long videos that I put on and watch a couple of them in bed before I fall asleep. So it scratches that itch.
Yes, totally. Let's talk
Nitro
about
Rad. Nitro Rad.
Okay, yeah, no, I've seen a couple of those. I like any of the YouTube channels where I can put it on in my pocket. I have like the YouTube Premium, so I can like turn off the screen and it'll still play. Anything I could just listen to is great because it's like I'm running out of podcasts here and there, and I could do the dishes or whatever while I listen to them. Let's talk about the Pokemon Presents thing real quick.
Sure.
So this had a couple of pretty interesting, I guess maybe one big announcement with Pokemon Snap. That
new Pokemon Snap.
New Pokemon Snap is the official name. This is a follow-up to the Nintendo 64 Classic, which I loved. Only ever rented, but rented it multiple times and really enjoyed it.
I mean, renting was probably good enough. It was not a long game.
Right, but I did it multiple times and played through it a couple times for sure. I'm excited. This is pretty cool. I'm glad that they're bringing it back. It was kind of out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, it was because I mean, it's kind of like, well, why now? Like, this was always a game people liked that you could have made a new one for forever ago. Like, it's kind of shocking that they didn't, like, on 3DS or Wii or anything else. But they're finally like, all right, yeah, we'll do that. And I'm like, oh, good. And it looks very much like Pokemon Snap. Like, it still seems like you're in that vehicle. You're kind of on rails, taking pictures. I hope there's still a lot of like a lot of the fun of the first game wasn't just taking pictures, but like kind of manipulating the Pokemon so that like they would do certain things that activate certain events so you can get like these really cool like action pictures. So I hope they don't like shy away from that almost puzzle element of it. I hope they kind of double down on it, but we'll see.
Yeah, and then there were a few other things. Pokemon Smile, a thing that like an app to encourage kids to brush their teeth for the right amount of time and stuff. And you catch Pokemon, the better you do, like the better your regimen is or whatever.
Of course.
That's neat. I like that. My kids aren't quite old enough to like get that, but I could see myself using that in the future.
You're gonna use it yourself.
Yeah, I already am. I've caught many Pokemons.
There's some Pokemon Cafe thing or something I didn't quite understand.
Yeah,
but that's. I'll tell you. I mean, they talked about the DLC for Sword and Shield, and I think I was generally positive about Sword and Shield when they came out, but I don't think I have any interest of playing like more of that. I have no. Yeah, I don't. Really
let me ask: if it came out as a third Pokemon game in this generation, like if it was the Pokemon Yellow or whatever it was,
probably not. Like, because I mean, I skipped the last few of those. Like, I didn't play Ultra Sun or Moon. I didn't play. Well, there wasn't one for X and Y, but I didn't even play Black and White 2, and I loved Black and White.
Right. So I think this is the thing here is that you weren't the kind of person that was buying those games anyhow, and now you're not buying the DLC.
Right. I mean, I never did a lot of like Pokemon endgame in general. I was like, all right, I beat the Elite Four. I beat the game. Like, what's next? That's fine.
I think I might jump into it pretty soon. But even then, I don't know if I'm like gonna involve the DLC in any of that because I still haven't played that game. All right. Okay, they're gonna have another Pokemon Presents thing this next week. I think on June 24th. I think.
Yeah, maybe
In
this
that
is
range.
where we're gonna.
Yeah. What do you think that
Maybe,
is?
it must be something a little bigger, right? Like maybe this is where we finally hear about like a new remake, or something like. I mean, I guess that's it, really, right? A remake. I don't know what else it would be.
I
Because they can't just talk about the DLC some more. There's got to be one more biggish thing. I don't know.
I don't know what it is. I got the impression that from someone that it might have something to do with China.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, I don't know what that. I don't know what that means.
That's kind of a weird. What you're gonna like, in this thing that you're broadcasting is
Right.
subtitling for America. You're gonna be like, "Good news, Americans! The game's available in China."
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that's exactly what it is. Maybe it's like a major new free to play take on Pokemon that is for everything, like worldwide. But I mean, because when I think of China, I think of free to play games. So yeah, but I have that's just speculation. I have
Like
no idea.
the Call of Duty Online of Pokemon.
Right, something like that. But something that wouldn't just be in China, would be worldwide.
Yeah.
But I don't know how willing they are to mess with that. So we'll see. It's only a few days away. We'll know by the end of it. By next podcast, we'll know. Okay, that does it for Pokemon Presents. Let's go up to EA Play now. EA Play was yesterday. It was the big event for the week after a bunch of actually smaller stuff that happened, and I don't know if there's anything really stand out that we need to talk about from that beyond Persona, and we'll bring that up in a second. But then yeah, EA Play was the big event on Thursday, and it was only 45 minutes. They kind of I felt like they didn't have a ton, obviously, to talk about here, but I think they did a pretty good job overall of presenting what they did have, and there was some fun stuff.
I mean, it was good to see Squadron's gameplay, which was a game you were kind of you kind of been like cautioning against getting too excited about, but it showed really well.
I agree.
I mean, just the cockpits alone look awesome. I'm just excited about like VR support and like being in those cockpits for 10 minutes before I get sick and have to take it off. But like, it's gonna be a really cool 10 minutes.
I agree. I'm going to totally try to play that game in VR, and I have a HOTAS, hands-on throttle and stick, a flight stick, and I'm gonna try to play it with that. I might have a second one, and if I do, I could send that to you. Yeah, and I think they're the same one too, so it's totally made for consoles, so it'll work fine with PC as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I am excited personally, even though I was told by someone who played it that it was disappointing and slow. But this is weeks ago, and games do come together in the final weeks. They in like the last run up to really one of the big games. I think it might have been The Last of Us Part 1. They talked about how the game wasn't good until at the last little bit or something. And I think that happens with most games. So I'm getting my hopes up. Even if that, they might get dashed in the end. And I'm totally getting my hopes up with the recognition that the game is priced at $40, that this isn't really going to be a single player experience. Not really. There is one. But
now, have they said that yet, that this is a $40 game?
They did.
That's still just
they confirmed
did? Okay.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
because it's weird, because like if you just watch if it wasn't for you having told me that, just watching that presentation, that trailer, I would have never have guessed that. Right.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job I think they're doing a good job of building this game up. I just hope it can follow through and really deliver. I mean, if it is like a glorified tutorial that is 4 to 5 hours, with missions and stuff that show you how each of the modes work, and then the rest is like playing with your friends in multiplayer, are you still excited about that?
I mean, I'm not really, because I probably just care more about the multiplayer, even like because I assume I'll have my brothers want to play a lot anyways. I'll be okay playing it by myself. I mean, I'm not even that interested in the campaign. I mean, Battlefront 2, right? Like, remember everybody was like, Battlefront 1 didn't have a campaign, and they got a campaign for Battlefront 2, and no one cared.
Yeah, no one liked
that.
It was
no, except for my brother, who like swears it's awesome. I don't believe him, but
I forced myself to finish that, and I did not really dig it. But yeah, but you're right. If it's the same thing here, I'll be fine. I think I don't know, what they showed looks really cool, and forcing it into first person mode, meaning like you have to be in the cockpit. To me, that says there's like stuff in that cockpit to keep you busy even between the shooting. And I think if they do a good job of balancing, like you are managing a ship, like in the old TIE Fighter games, and then you're also still dogfighting and dealing with enemies. I think there's a lot of potential there, and I'm really hoping that they can pull it off, because I just even if it's like a B grade, if it's like, comes out and it's like a solid like 80, I think that's a win because it would just do more Star Wars games overall. And
Right now, we
yeah,
talked about this before. How like the golden age of Star Wars was kind of when they just released a bunch of games
yeah,
each year, and a lot of them were like 80s and 70s. But like, and like, there's games that I thought were stupid and bad, like Bounty Hunter, which apparently a lot of people
I
loved, and
love
it
that
defined
game.
their
Exactly.
childhood.
Right.
Right,
That's exactly what
and that's
what I want here is I want,
yeah.
even if I come away like being like, this one's not for me, I hope that there's a lot of people that are like, no, this, but it is for me, and I'm happy with that. And there are enough Star Wars fans to support game releases like that. So we'll see. There was some other announcements at EA though. Apex Legends is getting crossplay, coming to Steam this fall, and it's coming to Switch.
But apparently not cross progression. So
Oh, really? I
I don't.
didn't see that. That's a
I
real
think
bummer.
so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's
Right. So it's
that
like,
stinks on toast.
yeah, I'm gonna now double check that. But like that, like right, like I'm not going to like start a new account on
Right.
Switch.
That
So
that really
that's
doesn't work.
kind of
How would you?
weird.
I mean, everything else does that, but you just sign into your ID separate from the Switch, separate from the piece. Like and they have Origin. Why wouldn't they just have you sign into Origin and keep it going?
Right. So yeah, cross progression is just not a thing on any of the platforms right now, I believe. So
Okay.
yeah, weird.
All right. Well, yeah, that's a bummer. Hopefully they do figure that out, and that's
Like you
not the
think that
case.
would be the easier thing than crossplay, but what do I know?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I guess it just depends on how they started keeping track of that stuff. So maybe that's just, it makes more sense to me because it's like you want to keep people invested in what they've already spent because that encourages them to spend more. But whatever. The game's coming out to Switch. We'll see how it plays. I think Panic Button is doing that one. They've done a lot of really really well received Switch ports like the Rocket League game and stuff like that. I think they might have done
Yeah.
Doom.
What's the recent Switch port that everyone hated? Outer Worlds. Yeah. That
Yeah,
one's
Outer Worlds. I
really
don't hate is like such a. It's like everyone's just like, it admits that it looks awful. But it's like you tried. We don't hate you, but you tried. It didn't really work. It's very smudgy.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah. I wouldn't ever really play that game that way, but I'm glad that someone showed us like what games, modern games look like when ported to Switch, because it's like, don't get your hopes up for this to continue happening when the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X come out, because that's not going to happen. We're going to get far fewer Switch ports from those systems. All right, so let's see here. We have, okay, then Skate 4 was the other big thing, unless there's anything else at EA you wanted to talk about.
No, I mean there were some of those like EA originals that look,
right.
There's the new Joseph Ferris, right?
Yeah, It Takes Two, which very on the nose for his co-op game.
Yeah,
which I'm fine with.
There's that something random game with the dice that looks neat.
Lost in Random. Yeah, that
Lost in Random.
I was like busy at the moment when they were showing that, and I went back and looked at it, and I agree that looks really neat. The dice character that walks around with you has a cool style. So yeah, so some cool stuff there, but obviously like these are their EA originals, and they're gonna like live up to a certain threshold of hype at an E3 style press conference. And it'll come out, and I'm sure many of them will review well and people will like them. But it's not on the level of something like a Skate 4, which is obviously why they did their one more thing. It's like, oh, it's a Skate. And how did you feel about this presentation of the new Skate game?
I mean, I was a little surprised there was nothing to show of it. Right, like even 5 seconds of a dude on a skateboard.
A logo, I mean, or a name.
Yeah, we don't even know what it's called.
It's so weird.
It was kind of like the way that Jedi Fallen Order was announced, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, it was like they're
hey,
not. Yeah, they're just not sure exactly what they're doing. Yeah.
I think we got even a name then, though. I don't know.
Yeah, at the not last E3, but the E3 before. We knew they were working on it at Respawn. But then like they sat in the audience with Andrea Renee, and Vince Impel is like, I can't tell you anything except for the name, and he's like, and he says the name, Jedi Fallen Order, and then nothing for a year. So I mean, I don't know. To me, I my understanding is this game is at a point in production where they don't have anything to show, where they have worked on it, but I think they're scrapping most of that and basically starting over, and so they probably wouldn't have any gameplay to show really, or that they would be happy to show.
Doesn't that make it kind of a weird choice for the one more thing here? That when there are other things they could have one more thinged.
Yeah,
with.
I think they're just I think
Skate. Are they sick of people asking for it? They want to be like, look, it's coming. It's fine.
I think that's part of it. Yeah, And it's like it's the kind of game where it's already going to get asked for if you don't announce it, or you do announce it. So go ahead and just say you're working on it, and people already know what to expect. They just want more of the skate. Like that's, and so it's like there's not going to be a lot of mystery around it one way or the other. Now we're something like Dragon Age 4. If like you tried to, I mean, I think they showed a very quick teaser.
They basically showed. I mean, they had this weird part where they were just like, we have next gen stuff in development, and we're so excited. We're just going to give you a sneak peek, and it was like BioWare, and it was clearly like Dragon Age 4 stuff.
Right.
And then they showed like, some Criterion racing game, and they obviously showed what was going to be Battlefield 6. And kind of like the only thing that was really big and original was some other EA motive game that was like some person running around with like a gravity gun of some sort.
Right. So
like some kind of original game.
Right. So they're clearly saying we do have other stuff happening.
Do you have like an iPhone plugging in and out or something?
Oh, can you hear that? Let me get that. Hang on, just a second.
Okay.
I was hoping it wasn't picking up on the mic. I'm like, I can hear it and it's bothering me. Hopefully no one else can hear it. But I'm glad you said something.
Oh, now I got to admire your old fart shirt, so that's
that's a good shirt. I've had it for like a long time now. All right, let's get back into it then. So I don't know. I thought it was a bad way to present Skate overall though. Even if you don't have gameplay, even if you don't have a logo, why not? I mean, why not just say the word Skate 4?
Yeah, I feel like just get a logo that says Skate 4. If you change the name later, like that's okay. I think people will be fine with that. But,
they like stumbled into it, right? Because they're like, all right, you take it away, cousin Derek or whatever the guy's name is, and then they didn't even say Skate in like the first couple of sentences. It's like they were like saying hi to each other still. It was just weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, for us, we kind of knew that this was coming. So I think for maybe for a lot of people, just the fact that they know that Skate 4 is real or whatever it's called is enough.
Yeah. And I think it is. I mean, a lot of people were excited. Like I went and like looked for reactions on YouTube yesterday, and there was a lot of people who were like, "I'm crying. I can't believe it. It's real." I'm like, man, all they have to do is just say it's in development, and people are like really excited for this. So yeah, I think it was a smart move. I'll play it when it comes out, and I'm happy for the people that are always commenting at EA to make this game. Like they even said that they made this game because people commented it. They willed it into life with their comments. Is how they put it, I think. And it's like, oh man, you're gonna give people that power now. You better be careful what you wish for there, because people come at you with a bunch of other stuff now that they want you to make and think that they can get made by going, hashtag Mirror's Edge 3 or whatever. So, and I don't think they're gonna do that. So, yeah, people should keep their expectations in check there. I have a list of other EA games that are coming, though, that I've heard are in the works. Should we go over those?
Yeah, let's do it. I want to hold you accountable when these don't happen.
Yeah, that sounds good. UFC. I thought UFC was going to be at their E3 thing, and I think they were just like, clear, go ahead. Yeah,
they didn't care about. I mean, they did not want to give EA Sports very much time here in general, right? They had like the most basic, like, Madden and FIFA are thing.
Yeah, but I think
like it, and it's probably not the people watching right now. So.
Yeah, like those games are going to sell irrespective of whether or not you show them at E3 or not. So, yeah, I think that makes sense. That game's coming. They're also making a golf game. So 2K's got a golf game, and now EA's going to have a golf game as well. That one's coming after UFC. I think that one's a little bit further off. And I know you're
going to be that. Have you played that somebody recreated that golfing game from that Simpsons episode?
I haven't played it, but I've been meaning to, because that looks fantastic. I love that.
Hilarious. I mean, it's not much of a game, but you can basically just recreate the thing.
Right. That's all I want. I just want the joke. Yeah. Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered. I said that one earlier. It's not here. I'm not surprised it's not here. But it is coming later this year. So
it's surprising that they wouldn't show this if it was coming. Like, this could have been the one more thing, right?
Yeah, and I think like, I don't know why they didn't, but my guess is like, just we're not going to even bring up BioWare in any substantial way. Because then it's like, well, BioWare's showing this. Why aren't they showing this other thing? It's like, let's just leave BioWare on the sideline for this thing, and then we'll announce this game separately and then release it later.
Do you think this is going to be to revitalize this franchise, which really should be like this big deal and just got really mishandled pretty badly for a while?
I think
it should be such a big EA thing, but maybe kind of like what the Crash Bandicoot trilogy did, like this kind of revitalize things a bit.
I think so. I hope that this is a springboard into a really quick follow up of a full Mass Effect game. Now, Dragon Age 4 is one they've said before that they're making, so we know that's happening. We know, and we saw what obviously looks like Dragon Age 4 in that sizzle reel. So that's going to be the next thing, and they're not going to have Mass Effect, I think, around the same time as that. I think that team would probably work on Dragon Age 4 and then switch to Mass Effect if that's what they're going to do.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. We'll see. We'll see if that actually ends up happening. But I hope it does. I hope that Mass Effect is coming back for real. I prefer Mass Effect over Dragon Age, and liked all those games, even 3. So we'll see.
When do you think that Bioware's going to be entrusted to do a new IP again anytime soon, or do you think they're going to be alternating between Dragon Age and Mass Effect for another decade or so here?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I wonder. I guess we'll have to wait and see how this Motive game does. That seems like it's a new IP. If that delivers anything substantial, maybe EA will get more emboldened about letting BioWare try again. But I think you're right. That's like you have your space IP, you have your fantasy. Just bounce back and forth between those two for a while, and then maybe we'll come back and we'll talk. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely like Respawn has all the rope right now, has all the slack, and none of the other EA studios really do. And that includes DICE, which is working on Battlefield 6, and that's set in the modern times. I didn't actually catch that in the sizzle reel. Was it obvious from that video that it was?
I mean, they showed a bunch of soldiers, and they were like non-textured, but it was. I mean, I was also running a bit, but pretty clearly it was Battlefield.
Okay.
I don't know if you could tell it was modern time from what they showed, but it was. I mean, yeah, it's obviously the next Battlefield, which is like, again, like you said, pressure's on a bit because Battlefield 5 was kind of a bit of a disappointment for them, right?
I think so, yeah. And then the last thing is Need for Speed Remastered, which I couldn't remember.
You're still not sure which one.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one. I thought it might be Hot Pursuit, but apparently the Need for Speed Twitter account tweeted a clip of Lil Jon's, I can't remember, Get Low, which was a theme song for Need for Speed Undercover, or one of those ones. I can't remember.
This is not a franchise you are super familiar.
No, and apparently it's like we've talked about this before. Need for Speed has like super fans. So
yeah, that game that came out this last year that we made fun of still sold pretty well.
Yeah, like jumped on the chart last month too. Yeah. It's wild. But yeah, basically they're making another Need for Speed remaster. The same team that did Burnout Paradise. And if you are into Need for Speed, you tell me. You come back and tell me once you know what that game is, because I'm sure you'll figure it out before I will. Okay, let's see here. Well, I think we can
Persona 4.
Yeah, Persona 4 Golden. So last week there was a bunch of like smaller showcases. One of them was the PC gaming show, and they announced that Persona 4 Golden came to Steam and is out now. And I went and downloaded it, and it's pretty good. It works really well.
Oh yeah? How far are you?
Very beginning, because I'm trying to finish Ori first. So
that's very okay. Yes, that's good. Very good.
Yeah, I booted it up, but it runs really well when I stream it to my phone. So I'm like, okay, this will be the game I play after I do that with Ori. But it seems like it also runs on anything. I guess the minimum requirements are super low, because it's basically just the Vita game, right? So
are you saying that it could even run on a Switch?
I think it absolutely could run on a Switch, or maybe it can't. Maybe there is some like physical law preventing that from happening.
Like, how could this? After you take, I mean, the hard part I imagine is porting a Vita game to anything else first,
right?
Like a PC. Like from there, getting this PC game now on Switch must be relatively easy. Like, how could that not happen?
It's gotta be. I mean, it has to be something in a contract with Sony. No one knows.
Exclusivity.
No one knows, but yeah, and like they're like, hey, can we port this to PC? And like, yeah, we don't care. Hey, can we port this to Switch? No, it's probably what Sony says to that. So, or maybe Sony. I said this on that Spawncast, but maybe it's like The Godfather. He cuts off the horse's head and puts it in the Atlas president's bed or whatever, to keep him from putting it on Switch. I don't know. It just feels like something like that, because no one knows the details of this agreement that Atlas must have. So. I don't know. I hope it comes to Switch. We say that every time this game comes up, any Persona game.
Yeah, any of the Personas, right? Like, but I mean, like this is like the most like, oh come on.
Right, absolutely. But I mean, I guess at least people have another way to play that game now instead of
Yeah, no, that's great Vita. Because obviously it's hard to get it on Vita, and Vita was definitely like this Vita version is definitely like much better than the PlayStation 2 version. So.
Yep.
It's very good news.
And then the best game of June came out, Jump Rope Challenge.
Oh my god, this was just so random.
Yeah,
It was
really
like in like
weird.
the middle of the night too, right, or
Late.
something weird.
It was like 10 p.m.
yeah.
my time, so it was like midnight Eastern, I think. So yeah, that was weird. It was just like Nintendo tweeted, "Hey, this thing's out. A couple of our developers made this while working from home, and it's free. And it's just this free game where you take the Joy-Cons and pretend to jump rope, and you try to do 100 a day. At first is the goal." And they're like, "We just wanted to keep people active." And I'm like, "Nintendo, what are you doing? This is so weird." But yeah, did you download it? Did you get it?
No, I have not. I'm sure you did.
I downloaded it. I haven't tried it yet though, because I I don't get the Joy-Cons out and do all that stuff. But I'm gonna give it a shot.
Oh my god, the Joy-Cons! I forget. Yeah, using the Joy-Cons as
motion controls.
like,
Waggle.
Weird.
Waggle is backle.
Yeah. Waggle's bagel, baby.
All right. Finally, Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, has been rated for the PS4 and Xbox One in Taiwan, and we see the cover art and everything. This is all over the place. I don't know what we could, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think. What can I say? Man, if that's true, that sure would be awesome.
But Mike, aren't there more than 4 Crash Bandicoots? Isn't it weird? Isn't it sort of a slight at those other games?
Hell no one likes those other games.
All right, then.
I think some people might like Crash of the Titans, okay. Or is it Mind Over Mutant? Or I think Twin Sanity is. I don't know. I'm not getting deep into all those old school platforming YouTube channels I've been watching. I've been going over some of those games. So
oh, really? Okay, yeah.
I'm relatively well versed on Crash Bandicoot lore right now.
Well, it would be weird if Jeff Keighley was announcing something for Monday and had to do something with anything. So we'll see.
It's interesting that Toys for Bob is the developer listed in that box arts, and so those are the people who did the Spyro remakes, but not the Crash remakes that were recent. So
right, who did the Crash one?
Because Vicarious Visions.
Vicarious Visions, right.
So they're what are they doing? Tony Hawk now?
Yes, they're doing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So they're basically always on the remake game. Toys for Bob has a bit more experience, like making original. Toys for Bob, I forget. Like those are the Star Control guys.
Yeah,
that's who made Star Control too.
Yeah, and they that's really wild. But more recently they were doing like the Skylanders.
They did all Skylanders, so that was their connection to Spyro before they remade those games. But I mean, yeah, I hope this is real because I think that because that trilogy happened, I think people kind of understand what people liked about Crash Bandicoot now. They don't have to get too bizarre with it.
What do you think about the cover art and stuff, the way the characters look?
I think it's cool. I like that. I always liked Crash's sister, so I like that she would maybe be featured heavily in this game. Who knows? I'm looking forward to see if this is real.
Am I bad for not liking these games as much as most people?
You're a little bad.
Yeah, when you start running at the camera and you miss those blind jumps, or mostly blind jumps. I guess I could be a little bit more patient.
They're not completely blind, but they can be a little rough. Crash Bandicoot 1 is known for being very hard. If you maybe just jump to 2 or 3, you might have more fun.
That's probably my problem.
But I don't mind. Right. I don't mind I like 3D platformers a lot in general, so I can get through the difficulty a bit.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I guess so what my other question there would be is, if this game is real, do you want it to basically be more of like what they were doing in Crash 1, 2, and 3, or do you want them to open it up and make it like a full 3D platformer where you're roaming around open levels?
No, because they tried that with one of the Crash games, and it didn't work super well. It was kind of weird. No, I think you'd make a corridor 3D platformer basically is what the games are, and I think that's what they're good. Like Crash Bandicoot, when it's really good, it's basically a 2D platformer with like an extra axis. Right. In fact, a lot of the time, Crash 1 was just straight up a 2D platformer. Like there was no up and down movement. So like I think the Crash Bandicoot is pretty good at keeping it simple. I think you could do some interesting things with that haven't been done yet. I think there's still room for like innovation and just kind of like the kind of Mario style like level gimmick sort of thing to make things interesting and just kind of making it all fun and pretty. Like there's enough to do there.
Yeah,
I think it's time. Yeah, I think it's about time.
I guess that means it's got to be time travel and stuff. I think that could be fun.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I think I got the gist from the cover that like they might be going for a 90s sort of not a retro aesthetic, but like, you know, the trying to bring back the time where Crash was popular in the first place and kind of embrace all that stuff. And I think that's a good idea too. I think that like the nostalgia for that period of time, I think, is all in video games and all on computers. And if you like try to be nostalgic about the music or the fashion or the television or movies, like I think that's a little bit more difficult, because it was at that point in time when like music and movies, which, you know, there was plenty of good music and movies, but they felt very corporate. They felt very much like corporations are putting out stuff and they know what people are going to like and they're going to feed it to people. And whatever. Like, I like a lot of movies from that time, but I feel that when I go back and watch like Independence Day or whatever. But in like games and games and like the internet, it was such like a Wild West still, and things were still like weird and like and, you know, and Crash was clearly still corporate, but it was like this corporation fighting against another corporation in this really fun way and embracing like the console wars. And I think that it's a good idea to try to embrace that stuff, because I still have a lot of fuzzy feelings about that time in a way that I don't feel fuzzy about the music of my youth.
I wonder if, again, Sony made any kind of play to have this be a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 exclusive. Even like is a oh wait, never mind. I can't say that, but yeah, but I mean, so the leak said nothing about a Switch version, even though Insanity eventually had a Switch port. Maybe this eventually would too.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm sure Activision Blizzard was just straight up like, no, this is also coming out on Xbox. We're not missing out on that money.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably take a lot of money, and Sony also is probably like, you know, we have Ratchet, we'll put our money there instead.
Right. And I would, if this was real, I would guess very much that these people would then go straight to making Spyro 4 after this.
That makes sense.
Like, why not? But in general, I'm really happy to see how 3D platformers are like kind of having a bit of a comeback now.
And they should.
And I think like, and it's weird that like one of the big drive things, because like Mario games have always come out and been good, but the issue has always been it's just been Mario for so long. Like the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, like that almost had a lot to do with it.
I think it's
that sold really well, like just like insanely well.
Yeah, I think it's just like it let other people know that's like, oh, it's not just Mario. I think at the same time, when Odyssey came out and started selling very well as well, I think people were like, oh, people want these kinds of games even more than 2D games. Like the generation that has grown up now and is buying games actually did all grow up on 3D in a way that the generation before that was like always buying more 2D Marios than 3D Marios grew up on 2D games. So it's like we've reached this threshold now where it's like the you know, Fortnite is huge. People are okay with dual sticks or whatever. More complicated games, moving through more complicated spaces isn't an issue anymore for the people playing games. And I think that a lot of people realized that once Crash did really well and Odyssey was doing well. So yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, let's hope it's more Mega Man 9 and less Sonic the Hedgehog 4.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's been those 4 games. What was the other?
There's Tony Hawk 5. There's Contra 4, which is actually really good. Yeah, it's always interesting whenever they like a series goes away from numbers forever. That all of a sudden it's like we're back to the numbers because this is the big return. And sometimes it works, and then sometimes it's Sonic the Hedgehog 4.
Exactly, and that's the worst one of them all. Maybe Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is actually probably the worst, but yeah.
That might actually be the worst one. Yeah. But there was another 4 one. You're right.
Recently too, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. I was actually just checking Steam to see if it came out there. Oh, Streets of Rage 4.
That's right. Yes. That's very good.
That's the one we were both thinking of. Yep, and that one's good. Mm-hmm. So they're figuring these out too, which is good. I'm excited. All right. Let's get to what we've been playing. Mike, let's start with you. You were last week. You were getting to the Jack games. Did you beat Jack 1?
I beat Jack and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. Had a great time. I mean, that game is basically just so much like a Mario 64, even more so like a Banjo-Kazooie kind of thing. It's one kind of big, I guess, contribution is that it's all one big, almost kind of continuous open world with a few different hub zones and kind of vehicle sections between them. But there aren't very many loading times in that game, which is impressive for a PlayStation 2 game.
I can never remember. I can never remember the legacies here. The Crash was Naughty Dog, and then Jack was Sucker Punch.
Okay, so it's Naughty Dog goes Crash, Jack and Daxter, and Uncharted, and then Insomniac is Spyro, Ratchet and Clank, then Resistance. Sucker Punch, they were doing a bunch of random things in
Okay.
like they made some weird Nintendo 64 platformer I can't remember the name of, but then they got big with Sly Cooper, and then from
Okay.
that to Infamous,
That's what it is.
and now with now Ghost of Tsushima.
Okay, so this is another Naughty Dog game. All right, and
This is
you
Naughty
mentioned
Dog.
that last week. You're like, oh, I'm big into Naughty Dog. I haven't played these games.
Right, and like even Jack, like you're talking about, like, oh, open up Crash Bandicoot. That's kind of what Jack and Daxter is.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
he kind of control. Like, he still even has like the spin move basically,
Mhm.
but it's more of like this is like an open world 3D platformer, and there's a bit more going on to it, so it's different. But then I started playing Jack 2, and Jack 2 is one of the most interesting sequels of all time because, again, like Jack and Daxter 1 is just like, yeah, Mario, Banjo Kazooie, Spyro, obviously inspired by those things. Kind of a little like it has one foot in the last generation still. Jack 2 inspired by Grand Theft Auto 3,
Oh my
like
God.
Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, right? Like the hub world is just like a city. And like you literally like there's like you have like the mini map icon thing, and it's mini map, and it has like the icons, and it's mission based, right? Whereas like Jack and Daxter is very much a collectathon, and it's like you're in this area, there's 8 of eggs to get and 9 orbs or whatever. Like this is just go here, watch a little cutscene with people talking, and then drive to the other place and do the mission there. And you even like hijack vehicles and stuff. I mean,
and like, does it feel like a refined version of those, or just like a family friendly version of those, or is it not quite as good as like Grand Theft Auto?
It's not a Grand Theft Auto game, really. Like the structure takes inspiration from that, and you can hijack vehicles, but like the control setup is still mostly the same. It's like the moveset's like the same, and it's a lot of it is still 3D platforming when you get to a lot of missions. But then there's also like guns now, which feels a bit more like Ratchet and Clank. So there's like this Ratchet and Clank inspiration. There are a lot more vehicle sections. It's bizarre because, again, like on one hand, it's very much like, oh yeah, this is Jack 2, and then the other hand, it's like, whoa. And there's even a bit of that Prince of Persia Warrior Within thing where like they went to a teen rating, so they're swearing, and Daxter gets drunk and stares at the girl's cleavage and stuff like that.
Of course.
So it's like they're making it a bit edgier. But like, there are some things that are just obviously better. The character models are significantly better than even just like a couple years earlier. The animation, like you're beginning to see that this is the Naughty Dog that is eventually going to make Uncharted. Like there's even like there are like action sequences, or like what do you call that when like some like a big event kind of thing like you have in an Uncharted.
QTE, no, or a cinema?
No, not QTE.
A set piece.
A set piece is the word I was looking for. There are set pieces in Jack 2, but it's also like you're talking about the Wild West thing. Like some of it is kind of clunky still. Like you like this big city, and the city is huge for like a PlayStation 2 platforming game. But unlike a Grand Theft Auto 3, there's not really anything to do in it except to drive to the next thing and like you're trying to just avoid running into either like the other. It's all like hover cars and stuff. So you're trying to avoid crashing into the other hover cars or hitting any of like the security guards on the bottom, because then you start getting chased. And the controls can be a bit floaty because they literally are floaty vehicles. So like the vehicle stuff's not super refined. The gunplay can be a little frustrating because like this is pre-Resident Evil 4. There's no over the shoulder shooting. It's literally just it's like the older Ratchet and Clank games. Like you kind of have to turn and aim, and there's like a little auto aiming help, but that's pretty finicky. So you're kind of hoping for the best. But so it's like there's all these little frustrations. It's also a lot harder than the first one, partially because like the first one, like the first one, there's infinite tries. There's no like extra lives or anything. But the first one was a collectathon, so when you died, it kept everything you collect before. You got respawned somewhere. Okay, that's all right, because everything's kind of so centrally hub related anyways. You're always you're probably next to where you want to be. Now that's mission based, and some of these missions are really long, and the checkpoints are very ungenerous. Like you could like be redoing 10-minute segments a lot more often because you just like died from some gunfight.
Yeah, so that time of making games was like that for sure.
Yeah, so but I ultimately really liked it. I don't know if I liked it more than Jack and Daxter 1, just because I think I like the collectathon, like open world platforming thing a bit more than this sort of mission-based action 3D platformer. But it's so ambitious and weird. It's hard to not just be fascinated by it.
Like you describe it, it makes me want to go check it out more than like the Jack. I'm like a collectathon. I'm sure it's actually something I would love. I've never played it. I'm sure I'd go back and be like, oh, I see why people like these games. But it's not like I don't need to rush and check it out. You describing Jak 2, it's like, okay, this is actually very interesting. I actually was like, oh, is that? I'm like, I'm sure it's not, but is this on Steam? So I'm like, I'll have to check it out now that I got the PlayStation Now.
Right.
It just sounds very cool to check out.
It's almost exactly what I'm sure everybody was kind of expecting, right? And like Jak 2 is not. It's crazy. Like, and I'm really kind of I'm excited to try Jak 3 now just to see like how where did they take this kind of formula? Can they refine that into something really special? Now, I'm an idiot because
I know
I was very close to beating Jak 2, and I was in like one of the last levels, and like there's no background music playing, and like there were some levels like that, but I thought it was weird. I'm like, this must be a bug. This seems like there should be some music here. So I restarted the game, and it's a port of a PS2 game on the PlayStation 4, so it's like the save files are kind of weird. Like it makes a fake like memory card and stuff like that. And I'm not really paying attention. I'm like on my phone because I'm a spoiled screen brat now, and I'm not being entertained by my TV, so I'm looking at my other screen while like restarting the game. So I'm just like pushing buttons, and like the menu comes up. I push like X, and I push new game instead of load game, and then I click my save file, and I guess that just immediately erased like what was on there. Like it was not like, "Are you sure?" or anything like that. Just erased that. And like all I saw at first was because I wasn't even paying attention. I thought I just loaded it. And all I saw was like the opening cutscene. I'm like, huh? Oh, I must have pushed new game. So I restarted it, and then like my save file was just replaced by this 0%.
Oh no, that's awful.
The worst, it was awful. The worst thing was it didn't even occur to me that it was my fault at first. Like I thought the game did something wrong. It was tweeting about it all mad. Then I realized what happened, and I was now on top of like being mad and sad. I was also embarrassed.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
but
you're a fool. We all know it, but man, you don't deserve that.
Yeah. Oh, the good thing is it's 2020, and I could just watch a playthrough online and watch like the last 30 minutes or so that I didn't do yet. And I mean, obviously, it was a bit of a bummer, and it was unsatisfying to do that. But
sure.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, better than like trying to replay it and get through everything again. Yeah. So you are gonna go on to Jak 3 now?
Yeah. My question now is because like I have Last of Us Part 2, and if I start that, that's gonna be a big thing. But like, I don't want to wait on that, partly because people are already not shutting up. I mean, people weren't shutting up about it before, but now people are like really able to just like throw out spoilers, and like names of characters are trending on Twitter. I'm like, well, why is that character trending? What happens to them? And I'm like, oh God, I better play this game before like I get spoiled or just get left behind the conversation. So I'll probably play Last of Us Part 2 first and then go on to Jak.
How are you feeling about starting that game up?
Relieved, almost. I don't know. Like, man, things got out of control. Like, people were just really like on edge about this game.
I think we've been cooped up for months, right? And I think, and then all like things happen where it's like Black Lives Matter is like taking center stage now, and not everyone feels comfortable talking about that. And people kind of like got real quiet on Twitter and social media unless they were being serious for a couple of weeks. And it's like that's begun to fade a little bit, although obviously the protests are still happening. But I think people were like feeling cooped up, and then a video game thing happened, and everyone just went buck wild. Is what it felt like.
I know. And like even the people who like there was so if you don't know, like I'm not gonna like get into like this and name names, but there was a gaming journalism beef happening,
which we
and, like,
used to get
like,
all the time, and it hasn't happened very frequently in the last couple of years,
right? And like even like the two parties, like they were both like, I know that's not what you meant, but that's why I'm mad. And like nobody was going to back down.
Mm-hmm.
Then like everyone started picking sides and exasperating. There's even like hashtags going for what team you were in, like it was the goddamn Marvel Civil War storyline. I was like, okay, like come on.
Yep.
Both of these, like they're both big boys, like
it's all just because the game isn't out. And it's like if it was out, people could just play it and they would shut up about this stuff. So I'm relieved too, for sure, because it's just
I think
it makes Twitter so absurd.
I know it got so out of hand, and it was just like, what are you guys doing?
It lasted for like a week too. That's the thing.
It lasted for
normally
a week.
This stuff would blow over in a day, and it lasted a week. So it was just like,
and even the party, I felt maybe more sympathy towards, like they wouldn't like let it go, and I was just like, okay, come on, let's move on here. Like then like the developers started getting involved, like Neil Druckmann says they did, Corey Balrog did, and
calling him a bully. It's like, oh man, this is like, gonna keep going.
Weird. It's weird because like everybody likes Corey, right?
Yeah, right.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I would never want that man to call me names because I would be like, oh
yeah.
man, maybe I am out of hand.
Meanwhile, Neil was a little cold to me when I came up to him at that
The E3
the
thing.
last PlayStation thing, right? Where I
Yeah.
was like, yeah. So, but I think I may have fanboyed a little bit there, which was a little uncharacteristic. But I was just like, hey, my first like big story I ever wrote was about Uncharted 2, so I just want to say, you know, I appreciate that game. And he was like, okay. He was
Someone,
not. There was no warmth there whatsoever. Granted, it was late at that E3 thing. He was probably exhausted and tired. I understand, but
so someone mentioned that about Mark Cerny. Like they're like, oh, I get the like Mark Cerny's going to show off something, and they're like, oh, hey, Mark, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Marble Madness, and then apparently Mark Cerny went great and rolled his eyes and walked away. I'm like, oh, damn, Mark Cerny. All right then. So
I guess there's a point where you just hear you hear that
enough.
I bet like the first like 20 times a year, something like that, it's really meaningful, and
Right.
then after that, you're just annoyed and want to be left alone.
Yeah, and I have some sympathy towards that because I can imagine myself being the same.
But
way.
also, don't be mean to me. I'm special.
That's right. Everyone, be nice to Mike, please.
Mhm.
I want to talk about you. So I'm sorry. I want to apologize.
No, yeah, you better.
I thought you had access to the Epic Games like press account stuff.
Like,
I remember
here's
you
what
being
happened.
asked about it, and I'm like, yeah, of course he would sign up for that. And I guess you did try to, and no one followed through. And so you just haven't, this whole time, you haven't had it. And I've been like, hey, this game's on Epic. Everyone should just go here. Everyone in the Slack, go check it out. Apparently you haven't had that. So I'm sorry, Mike. I am deeply sorry.
Oh my! I was getting so annoyed because first was the thing. You're like, you have access to it because you have a press account at Epic Game Store, and I'm like, no, I don't. And then you're like, are you sure? And I was like, yes, Jeff, I appreciate. And then you said, go check right now. I was like,
sorry.
okay, I'm opening it up, and you're like, no, go to your library. And I was like, getting ready to go in my car and drive to Colorado. And then our editor, Jason Wilson, came in. It was like, I recall what happened. We asked if you what, and you said no. And I was just like, Jason, why would I say no to all the free games? And he's like, I don't know, but that's what I remember. And then you finally,
I felt bad. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna go check this out. I'm gonna go look in Slack and search through it, and I found it. And you're like, whatever happened with that? I remember giving my info, and it never went through. And Jason's like, I'll email about it, and then nothing happened with that. So
yeah. Big surprise, I was right.
I don't know why I was treating you like you wouldn't understand. Like, you know, yeah.
You're treating me like an invalid.
Yeah, I was like, he doesn't know. He's just a dummy. He doesn't know how PCs work. I don't know why. I was like that. But I think since then you've gotten your Epic Game Store account and you've been playing, I'm sure, SnowRunner almost nonstop, right?
I have not gotten one yet. What are you talking about?
Oh no, I thought that's what you said. All my free games on Epic Game Store. This is what the rundown says. I thought you were saying you did get. Okay, well now we got to get.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
Okay, it's still a joke. All right. Okay.
No, I still have one, and I never will. Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm against it. Actually, yeah. You just shouldn't have one.
Yeah. Now, you're against it. Now I'm checking just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure you know.
I have the 3 free to play games that I own on Epic Game Store on there.
All right.
No money invested in any of this.
Well, that's why they know you don't really like Fortnite. So
I did play Fortnite for a while. Actually, I probably spent some money.
You like it more than me, actually. Yeah.
I actually played a couple seasons at one point.
Yeah.
Okay. But like, Battle Royale games. Once I beat them, I feel like once I win a few games, like I did it. I beat Fortnite. I don't have to play that anymore.
Well, maybe we should make Jason follow through with that email and say, hey, what happened there?
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. I am still playing Ori. I'm a little bit further in. I think I'm probably like 4 to 5 hours in now. And that's it's really good. Once you start getting all the movement options, I got the dash an hour or so ago, and I'm like, oh, okay. Just moving around feels so good now.
Right.
Going from the double jump to then adding the dash on top of that. It's like, oh, all these areas I've been through, I could see now how I'm supposed to really be moving through them, and it's.
Do you have Bash yet?
No, I think that's what I'm working toward.
People and launch off of them. Okay, yeah.
I think that's what I'm.
That's when it.
Wait, oh yeah, bash through. No, bash through the guys and like continue.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I did just get that. Yes, I did.
You got Bash, and I don't know if you have the kind of whip, whip/grappling.
The grapple, and I got that too. So yeah, I'm making progress.
Feels good.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, you're always getting a new. That's the great thing about that game is like every ability has movement function of some kind. So like by
Right.
the end of it, you're kind of just you're zooming around like some kind of like little wisp god. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
And yeah, it's fantastic. I'm still playing it mostly on my phone. And it's working really well still. So yeah, I've been every night before bed. I'm just kind of sitting down playing like an hour or so, and I'm like looking forward to it too. It's like because it's like, oh, okay, I'm glad I found a way to play this because it is as good as Mike was saying. So, and you talked really highly of the end, so I'm like, well, I gotta see that. I can't put this game down. I gotta see this end.
Like,
so
I know, like I don't want to like build up too much because like I don't want to detract from it somehow. But
right,
man,
yeah. So
send me a text as soon as you beat it because I want to know.
Yeah,
I
will.
Feelings are raw.
Yeah, I will. I remember when you beat it and you were like yeah, very hyped up about it. So yeah, I'll do the same.
So good.
Voxelgram is what I was playing today. Have you did you see any people tweeting about this?
Is this like a new Roblox thing?
It's 3D Picross basically, which
you love Picross.
Yeah, and there's been some of those on 3DS and DS. I think the Picross 3D or whatever. This one's on Steam. Voxelgram. It's $10. And it's 3-dimensional Picross, and it's a little bit more complicated than normal Picross, but it's basically all the same rules. The only thing about this game is the shapes you end up making don't really always look like the things. They're like, oh, here's a bunch of tomatoes, and I'm like, that doesn't look anything like tomatoes. And you never feel that way with the Nintendo ones. The Nintendo ones, they're always so like, you only had a 10 pixel by 10 pixel grid. How did you make something that looks like ballerina slippers? But they do. And so it's like this one is like, I think the game's still really fun to play, but at the end you're like, these don't look so great. But everything else is just perfect. It's got really great relaxing music. The controls with just the mouse are very simple. You can, get a good look at everything. You can use the mouse scroll wheel to like move a layer in if you're trying to work on the center of like a really large mold or whatever. But yeah, I'm digging that, and it's like I would play this all day if I don't stop myself. So I just like put a half an hour into it, and I had to like actually like Alt 4 out, so I would stop and not just actually get some work done today. The other things I've been playing, there's a couple things. Hard Space Shipbreaker. Have you seen this one?
Hard Space Shipbreaker. I don't believe so.
So Hard Space Shipbreaker is the new game from Focus Home Entertainment, publisher of the year so far. They did SnowRunner, and now they did this one. This is a game where you work in a shipyard in space, and you have like a small little habitat, and then you go out each day and you take on jobs of breaking down old spaceships and then putting the parts into whatever receptacle they're supposed to go. Some go into a giant furnace and they get burned up and get reused as like just raw materials. Some go into a processor, so they get processed for reuse, and some are just like so valuable that you need to just collect them and then put them on a barge to go back down to Earth or to go off to another shipyard or whatever to get reused immediately. And you have a giant laser weapon that can cut stuff, like can cut certain material in certain points, and it gets more powerful over time, and you get upgrades, and you can cut more stuff, more easily going forward. But at the beginning, you're just like looking for these certain points, trying to cut stuff off, and now you got like a giant like fuselage that you need to tether to the correct receptacle and just watch it get taken away. But you also want to make sure that you move it slightly so that it doesn't bump into the other stuff and send stuff flying off into space. It's really cool. It's just a really neat labor game. Like one of these games where it is like, it's not trucking, but it's in that same genre of like trying to like farming simulator in space, where it's trying to make you feel like you're doing an actual job. Even if this one isn't quite an actual job yet, you're like, oh, I can imagine like breaking down ships in space being like this. It'd probably be done by robots, but whatever. We're pretending here. And I'm really enjoying it. It's really well done. It's got a great style. It feels just like a really cool blue collar game, and I'm into that for sure. That is out on Steam now. I think it's in early access still. So I was encountering some bugs where it was crashing for me consistently until I realized like I had finished the tutorial, but when I restarted, I was like, oh, the tutorial ship is still all put together again. Well, I guess I got to go break it apart. But no, I was actually supposed to move on. So when I got done breaking the ship apart every time, the game would just completely
sounds like a game you would love and that I would have no interest in.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be whether or not. Yeah, it's going to be either you're going to be into it or you're not. I think it's absolutely right. Yeah. Something you might have interest in is Ultra Kill. I don't know how you feel about like modern takes on Quake shooters.
Yeah, no, I saw this. I thought it looked kind of neat. I'm interested. Maybe not super interested, but interested.
I think once you play it, I think you'll be like, oh, this feels fantastic. So it's they're calling it like a mashup of like Quake and Devil May Cry. It's first person,
Oh,
and the reason it's like Devil May Cry is like they are first of all, you have incredible like movement options, wall jumps, double jumps, stomps, and then you can also do a counter move with your punch. So if someone shoots you with a missile, you punch the missile back at them. But you can also like if you're fighting a giant boss, if they try to attack you with their sword, and you know the noise icon goes off and that says, oh, they're about to do a big attack on you. If you counter that, you can then knock them off balance and they'll fall to their knee and do a bunch of damage to them and stuff like that. So it's kind of got this almost Dark Souls style combat to it.
oh no! It's the Dark Souls of Quake shooters.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. But and they're totally going, but they're still all going completely for the classic Quake vibe, where it looks like it's from that time frame,
Right.
and it has
Yeah, no, it visually is striking.
and the option right from the beginning is like, do you want like the clean look or do you want PSX? And if you choose PSX, it looks like a PlayStation game with like the swimmy polygons and everything, and I love that. But yeah, it just feels so fantastic to play, and there's a demo for that now as part of like the Steam Summer Game Fest, and you can play that on Steam right now for free. And I haven't even played all the way through the demo, and I've played it for a long time. I think let's see here, yeah, I played it for an hour, and I'm not through the demo yet, so it's substantial.
That's cool.
Last thing is I got the Namco Museum Archives, and it has Pac-Man Championship Edition, like the demake for like the NES version.
Oh, right, cool.
And it's cool. It plays just like it, and it just looks like the old Pac-Man game. And yeah, I played that through that a couple times. I try to set a high score, but it's cool. It's a neat novelty. It's not. I don't necessarily think it's actually the reason to go out and buy that game. Only go get that if you are into old Namco arcade classics. But otherwise, you can skip this.
I'm mostly into the old Namco Museum games where they actually had the virtual museum you walked around.
Yes, I remember that, and that was really well done. And this is not that. This is just a picking from a menu.
Blue.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that does it for me though. I'm trying not to play through Titanfall 2 again just because it came to Steam. I keep seeing that. I'm like, it's about time to play through that game again. But yeah, and I tried Torchlight 3 a little bit, but not enough to really talk about it too much. So
yeah, I still need to start that. Jeez. Oof.
A lot of games. I got a Last of Us code as well, so I guess we should probably play that and talk about it next week.
Yeah, I'll probably start that tonight.
Yeah, sounds good. But that does it for me, Mike. I think we could probably wrap up this episode. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the internet?
Find me on Twitter at Tolkoto, Tolkoto, and also check out my other podcast, 90s Disney, at 90sdisney.com.
And I am Jeff Grubb on Twitter. You can get me on Twitch, twitch.tv/JeffGrubb, and youtube.com/JeffreyGrubb. My other podcast, How Games Make Money. I had a new episode last week. It should be a new episode going up right around the same time as this episode. So if you've got this GamesBeat Decides episode, go ahead and check out How Games Make Money. I'm talking to an indie publisher and an indie publisher developer, and they're like trying to make a change until getting into publishing as much as developing. It's a good conversation. Check that out. Yeah, I think that's going to do it though. So until next week, have a good one and goodbye.